Good morning. Good morning, students, and welcome back to my lecture on literary forms and terms. This is the second part of this topic we have started initially. So, in our syllabus of BA semester 3, some literary forms based on novel has been given, and some literary terms, or say some figures of speech, have been given to study. So in the previous lecture, we have finished the different forms of novels. And in this lecture, we will go through few literary terms and figures of speech or devices of literature given to us for study. So the first is maxim. So what is maxim? Maxim is a simple and memorable line, quote, or rule for taking action and leading a good life. Sometimes you see, sometimes we always repeat certain lines, that they are memorable and indicative of some meaning, catchy, and it gives effect while we use it in discussions. So maxim is a thought with moralistic value that intends to motivate individual. So sometimes you see maxim or these lines are quite motivating to individuals. It is a type of saying or brief statement of a great thought about life. So sometimes in a aphoristic way we say something. कुछ कहावतें हैं या idioms जो होते हैं, they falls into the category of the maxim. These maxims bring a pinch of wit, making statements more appealing to the audiences. Okay, so you see, sometimes the line you say uttered by a character on stage, now that is a pinching and it directly pierces into the hearts of the audience. So maxims are different types of aphoristic sayings that becomes relevant to many people and situations, turning into everyday saying with the passage of time. Like you see, I'm taking example, a very popular novel, Animal Farm, written by George Orwell. Now here you see, here is one line, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. Okay, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. Now here you see, the animal farm is ruled by the animal. The previous owner was human being who was having 2 legs. So in this in this line, 4 legs good means all animals are good, and 2 legs bad means the human being ruled this farm previously. They are not good enough. So in this way, this line is indicative of, you say, the philosophy of the novel introduced by the writer George Orwell. On the other hand, there is another saying is used by the writer. So here you see, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. So very soon you see, the George Orwell's novel Animal Farm initiated with a revolt by animals against the human being or farm owner, and he ran away from the farm, and then the entire farm was run by the animals, and the pigs become leaders. But these pigs now, I mean, putting their shoes into the, you say, putting their legs into the shoes of the human being, and they became superior. And the rest of the animals were tortured and they were subject to, you say, hard work. So here, the pigs now, they call themselves, or they treat themselves superior than the other 4-legged animal. So in this way, all animals are equal, obviously, but pigs, like these are the animals who have some superiority over it. So these lines are catchy, people can remember it, and people have meaning to maintain. Like in a common day-to-day discussions also, sometimes people do use such catchy words to, maximize their intensity of speech. Another example I'm taking from Shakespeare's Hamlet. Okay, now here you see Polonius is the close, you say, assistant to the King Claudius, and his son was Lautes, who was going to France for learning. Okay, so here you see, while Lautes was selling to the France for his education, so Polonius gives him some lesson, gives him some advice of life. Okay, so here he teaches how to be true to himself and others. The purpose of making this statement is for his own benefit, in order to sound intelligent to his son. So here you see Lotus need to be an intelligent one while he is living in France. He should not invite some, you say, problem to him, and for that Polonius is giving to him the advice. What did he say? It's all about to thine own self by true, and it must follow as night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man. So here you see, one should not live a life of falsehood, foolishness, or you say a life of a bad one. One has to be true to oneself. This is what the idea Polonius wanted to tell his son. Now, next term given to study is memoir. Now, memoir is, you say, close to the autobiography. You know, autobiography means a self-narrative of life. Now here, but memoir has a little difference with the autobiography. We must understand that. Now here, memoir is obviously a written factual account of someone's life, like an autobiography. So this is a French word which means a memory and reminiscences. Okay, a literary memoir is usually about a specific theme or about a part of someone's life. Okay, so here you see, it's not entire life has been covered, but a part of life, a specific based on specific theme, has been given by writer. It is a story with a proper narrative shape, focus, and subject matter, involving reflection on some particular event or place. Okay, so here you see, the writer is giving us a particular period of his life with a focus on certain idea, with a focus on certain part of his life. Okay, so that is called as memoir. Now I can give you example. Now, Dreams from My Father, written by Barack Obama, the former president of America. Now here, in this memoir, Dreams from My Father, writer has giving here account of his life, especially from his birth to his higher education. You know, even before he became a president. So a particular small part of his life up to his, you say, career, the account has been given. Memoir fall under the category of autobiography, but it used as a subgenre. It's not a complete autobiography. In autobiography, I mean, you see, a long part of life has been covered, and generally autobiographies are written when you see people are at their matured age. You know, so whenever some young men are writing their, I mean, autobiography, so it is to be called as memoir. So a memoir is a centralized and more specific storytelling, while an autobiography spans the entire life. Okay, this is what difference we have to keep in mind. Now, Julius Caesar, who wrote and depicted his personal experiences about epic battles, was the first memoirist. So, in the history, we get glimpse from Julius Caesar. Okay, a Roman, you see, king or emperor who wrote his epic battle, about his epic battle. So that is the part of his life he gave account of. So that was the first memoir we get in the history. Memoir serves to preserve history through a person's life. Like here you see the person who wrote or write this memoir has his own perceptions to the time. So obviously, the history has been reflected through the eyes of this writer. Popular figure tells their fan about tough days spent in distress. Drug addict reveals their struggle in seeking normal life. Soldiers write war experiences. People who are mentally ill describe ups and downs to achieve clarity. And authors tell particular event that happened before their eyes. So you see different personal, okay, are engaged in different field of life. So they talk about their experiences in their life. Like you see, the example has been given, like a person who was a drug addict. Now he is overcome his addiction and now he is living a very normal life. So he is revealing what has happened, in what way he, moved away from the normal life and became addicted. So certainly some criminal who now repenting about their crime. Now they are writing their memoir. Sometimes some cricketers, sports persons, they also write their memoir. Like Sachin Tendulkar has written his memoir. Okay, and then even we have just seen a biopic on the life of Mahendra Singh Dhoni. So these are all based on the memoir they have written. Now here, after Julius Caesar, a proper, memoir was written by Saint Augustine, and the memoir named Confession. This you have to take in mind. This is also called as autobiography. Tom Bergenthal's a Holocaust survivor who went on to become a judge on International Court of Justice, wrote a memoir about his time in Auschwitz. So here, Tom Bergenthal, he was a Holocaust survivor. Now, Holocaust is the time when Jews were undergone torture from the German ruler Hitler. So here you see a particular race was targeted, and Tom Bergenthal, he survived from that assault, and then he went on to become a judge in International Court of Justice. So he wrote his memoir about his torture in the time in Auschwitz. Now, next term is metonymy. Now, metonymy is a figure of speech in which an object or idea is referred to by the name something closely associated with, as opposed to by its own name. Okay, so metonymy comes after Greek word metonymia, which translates to change of name. Okay, now you see sometimes certain area, certain city, or certain spheres of life is known by some other name. Okay, like you see, American technology industry is called as Silicon Valley. Okay, like American advertising industry is known as Madison Avenue. Okay, like film industry is known as Hollywood. Like Indian film industry is known as Bollywood, or Tamil, film industry is known as Tollywood. Okay, like New York Street Exchange is called as Wall Street, and then British royal family is known as the Crown. So in this way, a name has been given to a certain aspect of life, and that is called as metonymy. Like in example, I'm taking from a very popular novel, American novel, that is Moby Dick, written by Herman Melville. Okay, now here the passage is like that. You must know that in a settled and civilized ocean like our Atlantic, for example, some skippers think little of pumping their whole way across it. Though of a straight, sleepy man should be the officer of the deck, happen to forget his duty in that respect. The probability would be that he and his shipmates would never remember it, an account of all hands of justly reciting to the water. Now, in this passage, our Atlantic is a shortened and personalized form of the Atlantic Ocean. All hand refers to all of the men working on the ship's crew. So in this way, metonymy has been used by writer, okay, to indicate a larger meaning, okay, larger aspect of meaning to it. The next term is mimesis. Now, mimesis is a quite old term. It is related to the imitation, copying. Okay. Now, the mimesis has been properly widely discussed by Plato and Aristotle. Okay, these were the Greek philosophers. So, the Greek term mimesis is imitation, means copy or to recreate. The concept of imitation is central to Aristotelian logic, even as it is the Platonic. So you see, before Aristotle, Plato did use this term to interpret his idea. In case of Platonic view, means the Plato has maintained the world is an imperfect reflection of an ideal archetypal order. So the world we are living in, it is an imperfect ideal archetypal order according to him. The world is a lower order of reality, and poetry, being an imitation of imitation, is thrice removed from reality. So here he maintained that since the world is lower order of reality, so obviously poetry is imitation of imitation. So it is thrice removed from the reality. Like the poetry is based on certain object. It is conceived by the writer in his brain, and now he is revealing his poetry. So it is away from the object. So here, Plato's view has been rejected by Aristotle. Okay, so Aristotle's idea of mimesis or imitation has been rejected by Aristotle, and he maintained that it is creative and dynamic. Aristotle, speaking of tragedy, stressed the point that it was an imitation of an action, that of a man falling from a higher to a lower estate. Shakespeare in Hamlet's speech to actors referred to the purpose of playing as being to hold, as it were, the mirror of his nature. Thus, an artist, by skillfully selecting and presenting his material, may purposefully seek to imitate the action of life. So, it is with a purpose, you see, whenever writer is imitating, so that imitation came for a purpose. Like an artist, when he uses his mimesis to create art like in sculpture, music, literary form, painting. So these are all imbibed with some purpose. And this is the reason why here Aristotle found mimesis is a creativity. Now here, I'm taking example of Walter Benjamin and Theodore Adorno describe mimesis as fundamental to human experience. So imitation is the fundamental. That is very basic to us. A practice that precedes language, but it's supposed or distorted by society. So even before we invent our language, a medium to converse with others, the medium to exchange our thoughts with others. So even before that, mimesis we used. Jacques Derrida, a modern day, philosopher of deconstruction, he maintained mimesis for deconstruction, focusing on text as doubled object, which can never refer to an original source. So here you see many writers do use their creativity. Obviously, it is based on certain story in the social life, but original writer, they never cite the original event or plot on which it is based. So obviously, that is called as a creativity. The art created by the writer is called as the creativity. But we know that it is based on some event in the past, or we know that it is a certain mimesis. The next term we need to study is mythology. Okay, now mythology is made of myth. Okay, myth is a story of the past. Myth is a legendary or a traditional story that usually concerns an event or a hero with or without using factual or real explanation. So you see our mythical heroes or sometimes religious heroes, we see they are beyond this doubt or beyond this discussion of their reality or their existence or not. But they are popular part of our culture. They are part of our heritage. They are part of our, you say, ancient philosophical discussions. Okay, so sometimes the hero, heroine, deities of legendary stories, they are, you see, the myths to us. Myth usually features ruling gods, goddesses, deities, and heroes having good like qualities, but status lower than gods. So you see, sometimes god, goddesses, and then a human being having lower status than God, they are, you say, appeared as myths or mythology. Because the stories are handed down to us for centuries. Even a couple of centuries before, the stories were in vogue. Even hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, the stories of these men were in vogue, part of the stories, part of the mythological stories. Okay, so in this way, we are handed down with the cultural narratives, and these are the heroes enlightening or entertaining our ancestors. So a culture's collective myths make up its mythology. So if you collect all the mythology, like Hindu mythology or Indian mythology, we can say that. So when we collect the stories, different stories together, or when we gather all the hero and heroine, so in this way, it gives you a bunch of, you say, myths. So collectively, we call this as a mythology. The term that predates the word myth by centuries. The most important mythologies in Western culture are those of Rome and Greece. So, in case of Western culture, especially Europe and America, they connect themselves with the Roman and Greek mythology. So, myth exists in every society as they are basic element of human culture. The main function of myths is to teach moral lessons and explain historical events. So basically, the stories are told to the young children. Okay, a narrative, small narratives are created to give lessons to the budding, you say, people, budding children, young children. Authors of great literary works have often taken their stories and themes from the myths. So sometimes big, you say, big works, novel, poems, or even drama, they take, you say, clue from mythological stories. So myths and their mythical symbol lead to the creativity in literary work. So, so Ulysses, we see a mythical character. So Ulysses is, you say, written by Homer, a great epic narrative. So Ulysses is again is adopted by James Joyce for his novel Ulysses. So in this way, different mythologies has been used. W.B. Yeats used tremendous mythologies in his poetry. Even T.S. Eliot has used many mythological elements in his poetry. So poetic to, you say, for poetry to give a maximize, you say, meaning to them, or to give a larger meaning. Many a time writer do use myth or mythology in their works. The Greek myths also have a pantheon of gods and goddesses who rule and order the universe. The most notable being the Olympian, the gods and the goddesses who reside under Zeus and Mountain Olympus. So these are the places related to some gods who are ruling over the world. Similarly, India also, we do have Hindu mythology like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and then Shiva, and then Parvati, and then there are many n number of god and goddesses, 30 crores of goddesses. Sometimes we hear. Similarly, there are different religious beliefs are available in country. So each religion beliefs have their own mythological order. The most important representations of mythology in literature are found in Homer's Iliad. We have just discussed. Shakespeare, in his play Romeo and Juliet, uses Greek mythology. When Juliet cries out, saying, "Gallop apace, your fiery-footed steed," towards Phoebus' lodging. So, in Greek mythology, Phoebus was god of sun, and here Juliet urges that god to bring him home quickly, so that night could come and she may meet her lover Romeo. So here you see in European literature, many kinds of gods have been used. Similarly, in India also, we know that the sun as a god, moon as a god, uh, god of a wind, okay, like god of agriculture, god of forest. So the different gods are available. So all these are the mythical, you say, gods used in literature. The mythological, you say, story or mythological plot has been adopted by John Milton in his poem or long narrative epic Paradise Lost. So John Milton in his Paradise Lost plays out the Genesis story about the fall of a man and subsequent eviction from the garden. So in this way, in this particular narrative, uh, John Milton gives us two different, fall story. Like angel, he falls from the heaven, and then he became demon. Mephistopheles, okay, and then there is a man who was defiled by the first human being created by God, Adam and Eve. They were defiled by the devil, okay, and then there was a paradise lost. So in this way, the paradise lost story come with a morality or moral lessons for the public in general. Now, the next term is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. So the naming of thing or action by vocal imitation of sound association with it, like such as buzz, hiss. Okay, it's called as onomatopoeia. So you say a similar word come together, having a sound, so musical sound, buzz, hiss. So these are the onomatopoeia, a musical element in certain words. Okay, like animal sound like hiss, caw, moo, mechanical sound like click, clang, buzz, or impact sound like smack, boom, thump, or natural sound like splash, drip, rustle, vocal sound like murmur, growl, whine. So these are the musical words or sound element in word. So these are the element used mostly in poetry, okay, to give it some musical quality or to fix it in a rhythm or fix it in a you say metrical composition to make it a musical one. The term stem from the Greek onoma, meaning name, and poining, meaning to make. Any word that is used to describe and mimic a sound is an example of types of words you would want to use in your writing. Okay, so a particular sound, if you want to mimic, okay, so that is onomatopoeia. For instance, the gushing stream flows in the forest. Like you say, gushing stream flows in forest is a more meaningful description than just saying the stream flows in the forest. So gushing gives you the idea which way or in which manner the stream is flowing. Okay, so come down, O maid, like A.L. Tennyson maintained in his poem, Come Down, O Maid. He maintained the moan of doves in immemorial ends and murmuring of innumerable bees. So here you see, writer has used, you see, onomatopoeia elements. Sylvia Plath's poem Daddy, the rhythm of the word suggests the movement of locomotive. So here you see, here writer Sylvia Plath is giving the idea of locomotive. Locomotive means the vehicle. An engine, chopping me off like a Jew to judge you, as Swiss Belgium. So here you see, writer has used the onomatopoeic element in her poetry. The next term is oxymoron. Oxymoron. It is combination of words that have opposite or very different meaning. So when opposite words come together, that is called as oxymoron. The phrase is cruel kindness. Okay, kindness, but it is a cruel kindness. So you see, two different words, unmatched words, they are suggestive something. Like terrible beauty is born, written by W.B.S. So this is oxymoron. So to give effect to certain, you say, aspect of literature, writer use oxymoron. As with other rhetorical devices, oxymorons are used for a variety of purposes. Sometimes they are used to create a little bit of drama for the reader. Sometimes they are used to make a person stop and think, whether that's to laugh or to wonder. So when writer is writing, Easter 16 is the popular poem written by W.B.S. And here he uses this catchword or catchphrase. Okay, terrible beauty is born at the end of each stanza. So when he maintained terrible beauty is born, so we are become alert. Okay, it is something makes us or catching us attention, and something terrible he is indicating to. Like when we take example in literature, I have just mentioned WBXS, the Easter 1916, a terrible beauty is born, is used in each ending line of a stanza. And then L. Tennyson, and faith unfaithful kept him falsely true. Look, faith unfaithful. So again, faith and unfaithful, these are two different words used together. Like a smuggler, he is the only honest thief. He is a thief, but he is an honest thief. So honest thief is oxymoron. Oh, loving head. Okay. Oh, loving head. Love and head. Loving head. So this is what Romeo and Juliet used by William Shakespeare. Then parting is such sweet sorrow. Sweet and sorrow. These are the two words used in Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. We are busy doing nothing. You are doing and doing nothing. Again, this is oxymoron. Okay, so this is how we are finished with all the literary term and literary form given for our study. Okay, so if you people find any difficulty, okay, you can write a message in WhatsApp group. I'll be answering it, or whenever we are meeting in next lecture, you can discuss with me on the term you are finding any difficulty with. Okay, so for now, I'm closing my lecture here, and we will meet in next lecture with the prose section that we have initiated yesterday. Okay, so I hope you all will join me after Diwali. So we are taking a 2 days, couple of days break tomorrow and day after tomorrow, and maybe we'll be back on a third day. So I'll notify my lecture time in the WhatsApp group, and you need to follow that notifications. Thank you.